Welcome to Influential Sports, where passion meets precision. As I'm your host, Ed, diving deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. As you see in the title, as you see in the thumbnail, we're talking about Nico Harrison today. And Nico Harrison was wrongfully scapegoated in Dallas. Now, was the Luka trade dumb? Yes. As a Lakers fan, I still don't know. I'm happy now. At the time, it still didn't make sense, but it is what it is. And the reason why I'm saying it doesn't make sense is because it's very hard to build a future while trying to win a championship. You don't see many teams doing that. Even the Warriors tried to do it to an extent in 2022, but they still had Steph, Wiggins, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr was still there. You still had Clay. So it's like you still had a lot of those key pieces, but it's usually very hard to try to build a future while winning a championship. And unless you're the Celtics, who are a young team and who have been building for the last decade, OKC is going to be in that OKC territory as well. If they're going to have many deep playoff runs, even if they win, if they go back-to-back, or if they don't get back to the finals, I expect another deep playoff run this upcoming year. But not many teams, especially teams like the Lakers and Warriors with older talent, it's hard for them to try to win a championship while also trying to build a future at the same time. That's hard for many teams. So that's why the trade initially didn't make sense to me from a Lakers fan perspective. And then for Dallas, I just didn't get it at all. You got an agent, Anthony Davis. You got a good role player in Max Christie, but you only got one first-round pick back for Luka, who's one of the top 5 players in the NBA. You know how crazy that sounds when the Desmond Bain goes for 4 first-round picks, Rudy Gobert goes for 5 first-round picks, and Luka Doncic goes for an agent, Anthony Davis, a solid role player, and 1 first-round pick. Okay. And yeah, as general manager, a lot of the trades and decisions come down to what Nico Harrison is able to do. When he first got the job in Dallas, one of the significant moves he made was getting rid of Porzingis. They got back Davis Bertans and something else. I forgot who else they got in that trade, but I know they got Davis. It was you got to see who did the Mavs trade Porzingis for. I remember it was Davis Bertans and somebody else for the Wizards. For Spencer Dinwiddie, Davis Bertans, and a second-round pick. Didn't look like a great trade at the time, and it still wasn't a good trade, but got something back, I guess, so it is what it is. Even though he made that trade, and then also you had it's a trade I'm forgetting. Oh, the Jalen Brunson extension. They didn't want to extend Jalen Brunson. Both of those trades ended up paying out because obviously in 2022, when they went to the conference finals, they had Brunson. That's when Brunson was starting to become a star. I like Brunson in college at Villanova. I knew he'd be a good NBA player. I didn't think he'd be what he is now, like a potential MVP candidate. I didn't think he'd be what he is now, but I definitely thought he'd be a good NBA player. And he was proven in 2022 when they went to the conference finals with Luka, Brunson, Porzingis in 2022, lost to a more experienced Warriors team, and it was in 6 games. And then in 2024, after 2022, they got off of Porzingis, but made the trade, got Davis Bertans, got Spencer Dinwiddie. They didn't pay Jalen Brunson, and people still question that. In theory, obviously it wasn't a lot, but it paid off because he ended up getting Kyrie Irving, who was still, I think in 2024, I still would have considered Kyrie the better point guard than Brunson up to that point. And that's when Brunson was starting to find himself and become his own player, become that superstar or one of the top players in the league that he is now. Let me not use superstar because that's a very overused term, but y'all know what I'm saying. And then you get Kyrie Irving and you pair him next to Luka. You get to the finals in 2024 and lose to the Celtics, who are just a better team. But how did the Mavericks get there? Because of Nico Harrison. At the trade deadline, the Mavs were the 9 seed. Like, it was no hope for them becoming a 5th seed. Like, a lot of people give Luka credit for what they did. Luka was great all year. It wasn't Luka had to take a step up where he had to do this or that. I know Luka was great from start to finish. It was what was around them that needed to improve. Luka and Kyrie, they both had good seasons, but they needed help. They couldn't just do it by themselves. I don't like how Luka only gets credit for that run. at the trade deadline, Nico Harrison made the move to get P.J. Washington from Charlotte. All he had to send was Seth Curry, Grant Williams, a 27 first-round pick, and 2 second-rounders. And he got P.J. Washington, who's a great impact guy and brings you amazing energy. And then he made a trade for Daniel Gafford, where all he had to do was trade Rashawn Holmes. Is Rashawn Holmes even in the league anymore? The 2024 first-round pick and a trade exception made both those moves at the deadline, so you get a better big. You also got Lively in that 2024 draft, so now you got a great starting center and backup center. They can rotate between Gafford and Lively. Then you bring in 2 good defenders because that Mavs defense wasn't good until they brought in P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford that year. And they were killing it in Dallas. Like, obviously, the numbers might not jump out to you, but from an impact standpoint, this team played a lot better post-trade deadline because of these 2 trades. Like, Luka was the same guy all year. He just wasn't getting the credit that he should have because the team was a 9th seed. Kyrie was great all year. But look at these players I just named. Seth Curry, Grant Williams, Rashawn Holmes, they weren't really doing nothing. So they got off of them and was able to get PJ and Daniel Gafford, who are still prominent pieces to that team now. They were prominent pieces in that 2024 run. This team just wasn't beating the Celtics. I don't think anybody in the West was going to beat the Celtics. So, and then the Mavs outplayed OKC. That was the first year the OKC was the 1 seed. Then obviously the following year, which is this past season, OKC was the 1 seed again, won the chip. Congrats to them. But Dallas got to the finals. They just couldn't get it done versus Boston. Like I said, I don't think anybody was going to get it done against Boston. But once they made that move at the deadline, I figured they could go deep. I actually predicted them to go to the finals once they made that move. I predicted that once the playoffs came around and it was the 5th seed, I said, yeah, Dallas is going to the finals, but they're losing to Celtics in 6. End up losing to 5. I predicted 6, but it is what it is. But it's funny how Nico Harrison made these good moves and it doesn't get talked about because Luka gets a lot of credit for that 2024 run. And that's not to say that Luka wasn't great because he was spectacular that season. I wanted Luka to win MVP that year. I felt like it should have been him or Shea to win MVP in 2024. That's how amazing Luka was. And the Mavs were just the 5th seed. But I got to give credit to Nico Harrison for making the moves and for P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford for doing the stuff they were doing with 2 terrible teams. Like, they was doing this for the Hornets and the Wizards, and they continue playing like that. While on Dallas, they had an actual impact now because the team was actually winning. They were surrounded by actual good players. So even though the Luka trade was dumb, getting rid of Luka was a terrible move for the Mavs' future, and then you luck into a 1st overall pick, and then Jason Kidd is still the Mavericks head coach. Nico Harrison isn't the one that said, hey, let's get this 6'9" small forward, power forward, and play him at the point guard. You know who coaches the team? Jason Kidd. He did that. He made the decision. Now, luckily, they stopped doing that, and Brandon Williams is running point guard now. Now, D'Lo and Clay coming off the bench is kind of crazy to me, and that's Clay. He just got benched recently, but D'Lo started the season on the bench, which is weird to me, because I still think I think Brandon Williams he's a better defender than D'Lo, but D'Lo is going to give you some solid playmaking. It might be on and off, but he hasn't started most. If he has started, it's probably been once or twice this season, because I tried to keep up with the Mavericks because of Cooper Flag. Obviously, the first pick, you got to keep up with them. But Cooper Flag playing point guard, that's just not his position. He's never been a point guard in his life, in his basketball career. So a lot of the stuff that's going wrong with Dallas, like, you can look at it and say, oh, they don't trade Luka, they might not be in that spot. But you also got to look at everything else. He made the moves to get PJ and Daniel Gafford. If they don't get those 2 at the deadline, there's no finals. There's no 5th seed. There's play-in likely. Could even miss the play-in. They don't get those 2. With Nico Harrison, he got off of Porzingis and didn't want to re-sign Brunson, and that led to them getting Kyrie, PJ, Gafford, and they also picked Lively in the draft, which was a great pick. So as bad as the Luka trade seems on paper, and it is a bad trade, like, it's no denying that, because Anthony Davis is an aging, injury-prone star. It's unfortunate. I like AD a lot, but he's an aging, injury-prone star. It's still a lot of good that Nico did for Dallas. Like, a lot of those bad decisions ended up being offset because once, you don't pay Brunson, and then he's having these spectacular seasons in New York, it didn't matter. We got Kyrie and got further with Kyrie. We might have lost, but you still got further in the playoffs and got to the finals. Oh, you got off of Porzingis. Oh, let's add Lively, Gafford, and PJ Washington. Two good bigs, and you got a solid power forward. Okay, so that Porzingis thing don't even matter no more. So for every bad decision that he made or was deemed to be bad, he ended up paying off with something better and got them to a better spot than where they were at. The Luka trade was a setback. Then they lucked up getting the first overall pick in Cooper Flagg. But Nico Harrison isn't the coach. He's not the one that put Cooper Flagg at the 1 and said, hey, go play make. Like, you should be able, like, Cooper Flagg, I think his playmaking is going to develop, but he's not a point guard. His playmaking can't develop if he's playing out of position. That's not a Nico Harrison issue. That's a Jason Kidd issue. And then the last thing I'm going to say, who Dallas sold their team to, Mark Cuban sold it to Miriam Adelson or something. I might have said her name wrong, but then she's letting her son-in-law run. She's letting him make a lot of the decisions, which I don't know if Mark Cuban was aware that she was going to do that she was going to put her son-in-law in charge of Mark Dumont. That's how you say his name. Forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly. I don't know if Mark Cuban was aware that Mark Dumont was going to be the one running most of the stuff within the Mavericks organization. Because, Patrick Dumont. I don't know why I said Mark. But Patrick Dumont, him running the organization, I don't know where Mark Cuban was of that. I don't know if she even told him that when she bought the team, but I think that had to be left out because I don't think Mark Cuban would want to sell to somebody that isn't actually running the organization. I think this was, I'm not going to make no conspiracy theories, but I think it's very ironic and weird how Mark Cuban sold to a woman that just decides, hey, my son is going to be in charge of the Mavericks. And I'm not saying he don't know anything about basketball, but I don't think, from my knowledge and my research, he doesn't know a lot about basketball. So that's very concerning to me. I think Mark Cuban, he may have been traded, he might not have been aware of this, but Nico Harrison was scapegoated out of Dallas. It was some good decisions that he made. For every bad decision he made, he ended up making an even better decision. If he made a bad decision, he'll make a good one, and it looked 10 times better than it usually worked out. The Luka trade, it was a dumb trade. I still don't understand why Nico would do that, but you can't convince me Nico Harrison is the only one making calls. They have an entire organization. It's not just like the GM, like this got to be clear through other people. And Patrick Dumont is one of those people that has to be clear for, hey, let's make this happen. But Nico Harrison, I think he was scapegoated out of Dallas. Then they're trying to make Cooper Flagg seem like a bad pick. No, Jason Kidd is running him at fucking point guard. I don't know. Like, it took you 13 games to realize this guy isn't a point guard. Did you watch him in college? As the coach, you should be aware that, hey, he's one of the top forwards in the draft. There's no need to play him at point guard unless all your point guards just vanish all of a sudden. But you still have D'Lo, you still have Brandon Williams, and you might have Kyrie back in January, assuming that he still wants to be in Dallas. Because I've heard that rumor that he could be out of Dallas. I don't know how true that is. I don't see him leaving, but Dallas is off to a terrible start. So, Nico Harrison, unemployed now. Good luck finding a new job, I guess. I don't know how general manager contracts work in the NBA. That's not my business. But hey, Nico Harrison, good luck finding a good new job. Patrick Dumont and the woman that sold the Mavs, y'all are assholes because y'all scapegoated that man out of Dallas. Mark Cuban, you still got like 27% ownership, which that's not 27% is actually kind of big when you think about it. Like he's not making many other decisions. And I know he got a different role now, but I could be wrong about that. But I'm pretty sure it's around like 20-something%. I know he sold majority of it, but even that minority that he has is still a big minority. Because a lot of other owners have like small percentages that's like between like 3 to 5%. But leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, comment what y'all thought, and share for others to see.